A Florida federal jury convicts a white man for a racially motivated attack against historian Marvin Dunn and 5 other black men near the 1923 Rosewood Massacre site. David Emanuel, a 62-year-old white man, found guilty of willfully intimidating the victims, attempting to injure and intimidate them through a vehicle. Took place September 6th of last year. Emanuel tried to run over Dunn while surveying land near a public roadway. Emanuel approached the victims and shouted racial slurs and expletives before driving his pickup truck towards them, nearly hitting Dunn. Emanuel now facing up to 15 years in prison. That's what you white folks do when you're racist. Historian Marvin Dunn joins us now from Miami. Marvin, glad to have you here. See, Marvin, here's the thing that I keep saying, that, and I wrote my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. And people kept telling me, oh, I think you're just, making a big deal. I'm like, no. I'm like, these things are real. And what you have is, there are a group of white folks in this country who cannot handle the fact that this ain't the Jim Crow days. And we are not about to bow down and accept second-class status. Take us through just, again, here y'all out there surveying land, and all of a sudden, your life is on the line.
Well, thank you, Roland, for having me on the show. I appreciate that. What just happened last week in Gainesville, Florida is very unusual for a 12-person federal jury, no black. And you're incorrect in your introduction. He faces 10 years on each count. So this man is looking at 60 years in federal prison. Tomorrow in Alachua County, he has to stand state trial for using his vehicle as a deadly weapon. So he is facing a lot of time in prison over a moment of anger and racism that is going to destroy his family.
So he was found guilty in federal court, and now he's facing state charges. Yes, correct. Tomorrow in Gainesville. I saw this photo. This is you. You posted on your page. So was this flag flying outside of his property?
Roland is crazy. The man just got convicted of 6 counts of hate crime. 10 years.
Looks like we're having an
I went up to Rosewood last Sunday. I took 30 Dade County teachers up to my property in Rosewood. And I'm the only black person today who owns land in Rosewood. I own 5 acres of land in Rosewood.
Wait, hold on. I don't want you to go past that. You said to date, you're the only black person who owns land in Rosewood, which used to be all black?
That's correct, sir.
Wow.
I own 5.61 acres of land in Rosewood.
Wow. So
that's the property that I was visiting. Yeah, go ahead.
No. So where this flag is hanging, what is this property?
Right across the road from me. This whole thing started. I brought some people up there back in September to work on surveying how we're going to clear our property so that we could have an event for the 100th recognition of the Rosewood Massacre. So that was
actually, guys, so let's do this here. Hold on, Marvin, hold on. So here's what's happening. So we're having some issues with Marvin's video. So folks, do me a favor. Call Marvin on audio. And then that way, because when you have video, you're trying to see so much video, call him back. Let's do audio only. That way we can actually hear him more consistently. And so just call him back on FaceTime audio, okay, folks? So do that right now. So just want to make sure that we hear him. This is one of those crazy stories, Mustafa, that we keep talking about. And this is a win for the Department of Justice. This is what the federal folks are doing. I don't understand why they're not talking about these things from the podium, because they have been convicting racists left and right in police departments and prisons and jails. That's how you frame a narrative.
As you said, there's been huge wins under this Department of Justice. And since I don't work in the administration anymore, I'm just going to have to make my best guesstimate. that they still believe in that mythical white voter who's going to come and vote for Democrats in huge numbers. So they try and stay away from these important stories. That doesn't mean they don't do the work, but they don't really utilize and highlight how this is helping to address the systemic racism that still exists inside of our country. But, you know, if you want to expand your base, share with folks how you're doing good work. Hopefully those who have open minds will then, you know, give you a serious look to see if they want to give you their vote.
We have Marvin Dunn back on audio. So Marvin, again, you were saying you're the only African American owned land in this Rosewood area, and y'all were preparing for the 100th anniversary of this event. So go right ahead with your comments.
That's correct.
Go ahead.
Well, we were preparing to leave. My across the street neighbor, I've not spoken to him since I owned the property, nor he to me since 2008. And he rolls out of his side of the road in this big white truck with the huge wheels and what have you. And he lets down his window and he asks, "What's going on out here?" And I responded, "Well, sir, this is my property, and I'm getting ready to." And that's as far as I got. He said, "Well, if that's your property, why don't you all park on your side of the road?" I said, "Well, this is a county road. We'll park wherever we wish." Threw him into a rage. Slams on the brakes, does a U-turn, and starts shouting using the N-word. I won't repeat exactly what he said, but shouting at us, using that word over and over again. And one of the white men who was with us, he wheeled his truck towards him and yelled, "You're just as bad as the niggers." And then went back into, and while we're trying to figure out, my God, what just happened? He comes back out at full speed, turns his truck towards us, and almost kills my son and me and others who are standing in the road. And then he speeds off. So we called the Levy County police. They came out. They arrested him. Took a few days to do that, and charged him with using his truck as a deadly weapon. And when I drove back to Miami that night,
Looks like we lost.
talking about the
Yeah, go ahead. You said.
Oh, no.
No. So Marvin, you said I was driving back to Miami.
Yeah, and when I got back home, I called the FBI, and I reported this as a hate crime. And folks knock the FBI these days and all of that, but they did a great job on jumping on this case. They prosecuted it. They charged him with these 6 counts of hate crimes. And last week, before an all-white jury, with the exception of one Asian gentleman on the jury, they found him guilty. And now tomorrow, he has to stand trial in state court using his vehicle as a weapon. So he's going to prison. But I'll tell you something. Can you still hear me good?
Yeah, we got you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I had not seen that flag, Roland, before I got there last Sunday. I took 30 teachers from Miami up there to visit my property and to teach them the truth about what happened in Rosewood, because the state is requiring them to teach a lie about Rosewood. So I had not seen that flag. He's had his DeSantis land flag up for months. But this thing that you're showing on your program right now.
So this fool is on trial. He's going to go to federal prison, try to state prison, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to be defiant, and I'm going to sit here and raise this flag." Well, guess what? By doing so, prosecutors get to show that in the sentencing phase to show exactly how this guy is completely unrepentant with his racism.
That is correct. Now, when I go to my property, and this is a rural area, Roland, there's just white folks out there. Everybody has 5 acres. People have their homes back in the woods, so you can't really see their houses. But now when I go to my property, I have to hire off-duty Florida Highway Patrolman to sit at my gate to make sure I don't have to put up any crap. I'm a private property owner in Rosewood, Florida, and I need police protection to visit my property because of this fool and others around there who are like him.
Wow. Look,
let me make one other point.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a lot of fear. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Roland.
Go ahead. You said you want to make another point. There's a lot of fear. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a lot of fear among my white neighbors. that the black folks are going to come back and take their land away from them. That's it. A lot of these folks don't even know what happened in Rosewood. They just moved to Rosewood in the last few years. But there's this fear that the blacks are going to come back and take the land, which is not going to happen, because once the state of Florida paid reparations to the Rosewood survivors, the agreement was that there would be no more demands on land in Rosewood. So that's one reason why some of the white people are very, very anxious about blacks coming around. But I'll tell you this, and I'll stop. Those 5 acres that I have with a co-owner in Rosewood will remain committed to saving the Rosewood story. We have a track of the old railroad track that was used to evacuate people during that massacre. You know, they brought the train in late at night, and they sneaked some of the women and children on the train, no boys over 13, and they eased them out of Rosewood. And the only part of that railroad track that's still there is on my property. They took the rails out, but the railroad bed is still there. So when I take high school students and their parents or grandparents there, or teachers, as we did just this past Sunday, we walk that velvet ground. We walk that railroad track, and we tell that story. And that's why keeping that history is so important.
When is the 100th commemoration? When is it?
When is what?
The 100th commemoration.
It was last January. Oh, we had a grand time. It was last January. We had, 700 or 800 folks out there on our property.
Got it.
That was last January.
All right.
And this event happened the September before that as we were preparing for it.
Gotcha. All right. Well, look, first of all, we're glad that you are still with us, Marvin, and we're glad to see that you called the FBI and they were jumping this case, and this guy is going to be headed to prison. And so I'm sure when he gets there, they'll be delighted to say, come on in, come meet.
Well, see, his problem is going to be people know who did what in prison.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. He going to get to prison.
And these brothers are going to know that this man is there for a hate crime. So he is going to have to be protected by the prison authorities because his life is in danger because people know what he did.
Well, guess what? Hashtag we try to tell you. Marvin, we appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Boy, but Larry, I tell you, I keep trying to say, these white folk keep acting the fool. You going to pay the price?
Yeah, it's funny, Roland, because I just had a conversation recently about talking about the Rosewood Massacre and, the law that went into effect here in Florida on July 1st. And, obviously the issue about curriculum changes relating to, enslaved Africans. And it's a wild place to be down here. I got to tell you that. But, I'm glad you paused and asked him to emphasize the craziness of, it's been, 100 years since we had the massacre in Rosewood, and the fact that he's the only black person that owns land there, and that he almost was killed by a racist in the same community that was burned to the ground. And I don't think there are, obviously I hope that people are watching this show, but the symbolism of him using a truck to try to run these folks over, including his son, and like I said, him being an owner of land in that historic but tragic place. And also when you connect that what we're talking about with Donald Trump and overt racism about trying to eliminate the black vote, it's really important, I hope, for people watching this show, once again, that we're organized and that we don't continue to allow these things to happen in states, not just red states, but any state. And that 2024, that we continue to put people in office who ensure that the DOJ will take these people to court and make them go to jail for a long time.